Chapter 4160, Desert Divine Palace, 9. Liang Jin suddenly said, "Are they lucky, too talented, or too capable?" No one answered. Liang Jin asked another question. "What about the second trial? Is it going tobe?" At that thought, Liang Jin said in a hurry, "Let's not wait anymore. Let's go to the second floor now so that we don't have to wait for Feng Wu to finish her trial. I think she's a little unbelievable." They hurried toward the second trial. To their surprise, they couldn't obtain the treasure, nor could Murong Linhai. Naturally, Feng Wu, who had arrived later, got it. 3 months passed in a hurry. That day, they reached the 18th trial. "Xiao Wu, Sister Xiao Wu, can I call you that?" Ji Xingxing wanted to kneel down. His 3 months in Dynasty Road had changed his opinion on everything. How could anyone do such a thing? She was unbelievably lucky. In the first few trials, they wouldn't believe it and insisted on competing with Feng Wu to see who would get the treasure first. However, after a few trials, they lost so miserably that they couldn't find anything. Feng Wu took all the treasures. It just so happened that all the treasures here were helpful for one's cultivation, and they could only be used on the spot. Hence, no one could take them away. The trials were supposed to be so difficult that only a handful of geniuses of the Dian Empire had been able to obtain a few things. However, Feng Wu had never missed any of them. Ji Xingxing looked enviously at Feng Sun, Xin Yi, and the others. Of course, he was envious. When they first met, Chaoga hadn't reached the spiritual overlord stage yet. Feng Sun and Xian Yi were intermediate spiritual overlords, while Yuminji was a peak spiritual overlord. However, with all the cultivation treasures they had obtained over the past 3 months, their capability had skyrocketed. Duan Chaoga was already a peak spiritual overlord. Feng Sun and Xian Yi became junior spiritual saints. Yu Minji had long reached the spiritual saint stage and was already an intermediate one. Ji Xingqing was so envious that he almost burst into tears, for Yu Minji was as capable as he was now. Just a few days ago, he had a competition with Yu Minji, but Yu Minji had outshone him. Ji Xingqing looked up at the sky and wanted to cry. He was the genius of the Mountain Sea Academy, and even his father had praised his talent more than once. However, these people from the wild lands, Ji Xingqing wasn't the only one feeling envious. Zhao Exin felt like she had been on a roller coaster ride. At first, she tried her best to slander Feng Wu and her friends, wishing that she could reduce them to nothing. However, as time went by, she had been shocked by Feng Wu over and over again and had been humiliated repeatedly. By now, she had become so quiet that she couldn't even hear a word, for she didn't want to hear anything about Feng Wu at all. Seeing the blood lotus in Feng Wu's hand, Ji Xingqing almost wanted to beg her for it. Feng Wu casually handed the lotus to Chaoga and said, "Eat it with Xian Yi and the others, then sit down and cultivate. You still have a lot of room for breakthroughs. While we're still on this road, make good use of this time to cultivate." Duan Chaoga looked at the lotus and nodded in excitement. She clenched her fists and said, "I'll become a spiritual saint as soon as I can." Chapter 4161, Desert Divine Palace, 10. The others had all reached the spiritual saint stage, but not her. She wouldn't want to slow them down. What Duan Chaoga didn't know was that she had been making breakthroughs so fast that many geniuses had to cultivate for decades to catch up with her. Ji Xingqing gave Feng Wu a pleading look. Feng Wu glanced at him. "Aren't you the son of the head of the Mountain Sea Academy? Do you need more resources?" "Sister Xiao Wu, it's completely different. Dynasty Road is a place that youngsters of influential families like us can use to make rapid breakthroughs. Therefore, when we reach a bottleneck, we'll choose to come here to cultivate and search for treasures. Only by cultivating in Dynasty Road can one perfectly match the spiritual essence here and achieve twice the effect with half the effort. Otherwise, Duan Chaoga and the others wouldn't have been able to make such rapid breakthroughs. But no one knew you would be such a genius. How did you do it? You've plundered most of the cultivation resources along the way. You have no idea how jealous everyone else is." Ji Xingqing looked at the crowd a few steps away as he spoke to Feng Wu. As they walked toward the destination, more and more cultivators gathered around. Most of them were from influential families, and they were all proud and unruly. They already had a problem with Feng Wu. Feng Wu said proudly, I didn't steal anything. I got it with my own ability. Why should I care what other people think? Although that was the case, Ji Xingqing was still worried about Feng Wu, for there were simply too many people eyeing her. Look at the blue-robed men behind me. Do you see them? They're from Prince Yan's residence, and the other team are all girls. They're from the Red Feather Room. Ji Xingqing introduced them to Feng Wu. The chosen ones of this year may not all be the heirs to their families, but they're all core members. You've taken what should have been theirs. Hey, wait. I did take the treasures, but I didn't take any of their stuff. Even without me, they probably wouldn't have been able to get those things, Feng Wu said grumpily. Ji Xingqing said, yes, they probably won't be able to get it without you, but there's still a small chance that they'll get it. They'll only think that you've stolen their treasure and they hate you now. So be careful. Feng Wu thought to herself, I'm a spiritual sovereign now, and am not afraid of these people. I don't think I'll ever see them again after I get out. So be it. Feng Wu shrugged. Gosh, don't tell me you don't know that there's one last trial on Dynasty Road? Ji Xingqing reminded her in a low voice. Feng Wu said, I've passed all 17 trials. Are you saying that I can't pass the last one? Ji Xingqing said earnestly, this trial is different. It's very different. Really? Crossing her arms, Feng Wu asked Ji Xingqing curiously, what do you mean? Ji Xingqing said, this trial isn't like the previous 17 trials, where you can search for treasures. This trial is a battle. Do you see those people behind us? They're the genius cultivators of the 4 forces and 6 major sects, and you'll have to fight them to win this trial. Chapter 4162, 5v5 Battle, 1. What will I get? Seeing that Ji Xingqing wanted to say something but hesitated, Feng Wu asked curiously. Ji Xingqing said, a lot of people will be watching this battle. The battlefield may be on Dynasty Road, but do you see the arena? The arena can broadcast the battle live. That is to say, all the forces and sects are watching the upcoming battle. Each member of the team that wins in the end will receive a 5 spiritual glazed flame pill. It's a supreme grade pill that the 4 major sects and 6 major forces have hired the Medicine King of the Divine Medicine Valley to refine. It's very beneficial to our foundation and marrow. It's almost supreme grade. Feng Wu asked curiously, how supreme grade is it? Tilting his head, Ji Xingqing gave it some thought before explaining to Feng Wu. For instance, I'm not as talented as Feng Sun and the others now, right? But if I win, I'll take a 5 spiritual glazed flame pill, and after absorbing it, even if I'm not as talented as Feng Sun, I'll still be on par with him. That's how effective it is. Feng Wu rubbed her chin. It was indeed a great pill. It just so happened that Feng Sun and the others couldn't make much progress anymore. With this pill, they might be able to make some more progress for a while. Such rapid progress would have been harmful to their health, but Feng Wu was a medicine refiner herself and had experienced it herself. Hence, she had been guiding their spiritual essence and removing impurities for them the whole time. Feng Wu suddenly remembered something. The students of the 4 forces and 6 major sects are taking part, aren't they? What kind of a force are we, then? Ji Xingqing scratched his head. I don't think you're qualified to participate. Feng Wu stared at Ji Xingqing. Ji Xingqing said, well, after all, the 4 forces and 6 sects donate so much money and resources every year to the Medicine God Valley so that their descendants can get their hands on the pills. They don't expect to give the opportunity to someone else, so you don't get to participate. Feng Wu rolled her eyes at Ji Xingqing. We're not qualified. You're so happy, aren't you? Ji Xingqing said, of course not. While Feng Wu was talking to Ji Xingqing, a group of people was talking nearby as well. Murong Linhai had suffered a blow and had yet to recover. He had been living in Feng Wu's shadow the whole time and had almost gotten the treasure a few times. However, at the last moment, it would somehow fall into Feng Wu's hands and be used by her and her friends. Murong Linhai had witnessed the progress of Feng Wu's team, and he was still at the same level as when he entered Dynasty Road. You didn't get anything? Murong Linhai, are you that bad? A taunting voice came from the team next door. It was a teenage girl. Yen Qian, what are you talking about? Murong Linhai was infuriated. Yen Qian was the sister of Princess Yen Ling and the daughter of Lord Yen. She was the one who led the team this time. Didn't you say so yourself? We didn't find anything along the way, but that girl took everything. Yen Qian pointed at Feng Wu a few steps away and frowned. She's not that impressive. Why are you praising her? Chapter 4163, 5v5 Battle, 2. Ted by BX and Zerdo. Omicron Murong Linhai smirked inwardly. You don't think she's that good? That's because she's been hiding her true capability. You didn't get defeated all the way here, so of course you don't know. However, Murong Linhai wouldn't be so kind as to tell Princess Yen Qian how terrifying Feng Wu was. If Feng Wu wasn't so capable, Murong Linhai would have snatched the treasures from her already. What's that look on your face? Don't you agree with me? Princess Yen Qian glanced at Murong Linhai. Apart from the Mountain Sea Academy and the Murong family, no one else had seen how capable Feng Wu was, so they didn't think much of her. Murong Linhai heaved a sigh and told Princess Yen Qian, "Fine, I'll tell you the truth. We've passed 17 trials, and Feng Wu has obtained a lot of cultivation treasures. If you really have a chance to fight her, be careful. I think she's already more capable than you." Princess Yen Qian smirked. Liang Jin said the same thing. Are you all flattering Feng Wu just because she's pretty? Murong Linhai, I didn't know you were that kind of a person. Murong Linhai said in resignation, You didn't know that. Princess Yen Qian waved her hands. Even if we were late, we still got the heaven heart fruit. You didn't. Murong Linhai wanted to say something else, but Princess Yen Qian cut him off. Forget it. You don't have to say anything. I know you're on Feng Wu's side. Just go to her. She left with her teammates after that. Murong Linhai was speechless. Brother Murong, that's a bit over the top. The sacred son of Formless Sword sect patted Murong Linhai on the shoulder and left with Princess Yen Qian. Murong Linhai smirked inwardly. You idiots will soon enjoy the shadow of Feng Wu's terrifying capability. Just then, someone walked up to Murong Linhai and whispered something in his ear. What? She's not qualified? Murong Linhai frowned. Why is that? It was Murong Linqing, a junior of the Murong family. Murong Linqing went to see Ji Xingqing. Ji Xingqing nodded. That's right. According to senior brother, this is a competition among the 4 forces and 6 major sections. People of other lands can only watch, so they're not qualified. Murong Linqing felt sorry for Feng Wu. He had been waiting to see Feng Wu defeat Princess Yen Qian, but Feng Wu wasn't qualified to fight. If Feng Wu wasn't qualified, would the Murong family be qualified to become the final team? Murong Linhai looked behind him and shook his head. That wasn't possible. The team this time consisted of the Dynasty team, the Primordial Pagoda, the Formless Sword sect, Red Feather Room, the Mountain Sea Academy, the Murong family, and the Luo family. Of the 7 families, the Dynasty team was the most capable one. The princes of the Dian Empire were old enough to take the throne, so they all had their own supporters. The 4th prince was leading the team this time, and the Murong family supported the eldest prince because the daughter of the Murong family was going to marry him. Right now, the girls of Red Feather Room and Princess Yen Qian were all around the 4th prince. Chapter 4164, 5v5 Battle, 3. Ted by BX and Zervil. Some acronym were these people fawning on the 4th prince? If that was the case, the crown prince would be in a lot of trouble. At that thought, Murong Linhai couldn't help but look at Feng Wu. As much as he hated this girl, who had kept him from the treasure, if he could use Feng Wu to defeat the 4th prince's team, Murong Linhai rubbed his chin. There were 7 teams in total: the Dynasty team, the Primordial Pagoda, the Formless Sword sect, Red Feather Room, the Mountain Sea Academy, the Murong family, and the Yen family. Right now, the captains of the 7 teams were discussing among themselves. The teams had to pair up, but 7 was an odd number. The Sacred Mu Cliff, the Medicine God Valley, and the Yen family weren't here. So, which team wants to give up now? The 4th prince looked around at the crowd. No one would give up. Since no one will give up, we have 2 options. One is to have a bye, and the other is to add another team. The fourth prince naturally became the leader. He was about to say that a team would have a bye when Murong Linhai spoke. That's not fair, is it? Murong Linhai smiled. After all, whoever has a bye will be deemed lucky. How about we find another team? That way we'll have 8 teams. Liang Jin smiled bitterly to himself. Murong Linhai had been defeated by Feng Wu, and it would only make him feel better if other people were defeated as well. However, seeing the way the fourth prince was surrounded by the crowd, Liang Jin recalled how Feng Wu had saved the Mountain Sea Academy on their way there. In the end, he stepped out and said, I think that team from another region is doing well. I think we should let them try. Murong Linhai said, Liang Jin, you mean, Feng Wu's team has done a great job on their way, and they've received more cultivation resources than natives like us. Therefore, it's a good choice to have her team as a candidate. Princess Yen Qian smirked. Murong Linhai? Are you talking about Feng Wu, who's more capable and luckier than me? Murong Linhai smiled bitterly. Princess Yen Qian, I didn't say that. I only said that Feng Wu was very talented and very lucky. That's it, then. Since you didn't praise me like that, it means that she's better than me. Princess Yen Qian smirked and turned to the fourth prince. I agree to let Feng Wu's team join us. I'd like to see how amazing Feng Wu is. After that, Princess Yen Qian smirked at Murong Linhai. Her family had wanted her to marry Murong Linhai, but Murong Linhai had turned his attention to a foreign girl. Although she didn't think much of Murong Linhai either, it didn't mean that Murong Linhai could care about someone else. Therefore, although she hadn't confronted Feng Wu yet, the princess was already very hostile toward her. What she didn't know was that her sister, Princess Yanling, had been killed by Feng Wu. They interrupted the fourth prince's plan, but on second thought, the prince realized that he wouldn't choose his own team even if they had a bye. Otherwise, what would other people think of him? This was a battle to establish his authority. After all, that was what the fourth prince had planned from the very beginning, so he had brought some very promising team members with him this time. Chapter 4165, 5v5 Battle, 4. He and his teammates looked at each other, and they all gave him a resolute look. Let's have a show of hands, then. If you agree to let Feng Wu's team participate, raise your hand, said the fourth prince with a smile. There were 7 teams in total, and 4 of the team leaders needed to raise their hands. The results soon came out. Liang Jin of the Mountain Sea Academy raised his hand, so did Murong Linhai of the Murong family, Princess Yen Qian of the Yen Manor, and the fourth prince. Alright, they'll give them a place in the competition, then. The fourth prince smiled. He had raised his hand because he wanted to let everyone know that he would obtain the pill with his own capability, not by using the rules to avoid the most capable cultivators. Feng Wu was surprised when Liang Jin told her the news. Really? Liang Jin said, it just so happens that we're missing a team. You're such a lucky girl. Meanwhile, people outside were also watching the upcoming battle. Because it would cost too many spirit stones to watch the process from beginning to end, almost all the family clans would only watch the final battle in the 18th trial. The mother of the fourth prince, the eldest prince, Luo Zilin, and Yen Yu were all watching. The Primordial Pagoda, the Formless Sword Sect, Red Feather Room, the Mountain Sea Academy, and the Murong family were watching as well. They all hoped that their own clansmen could get their hands on the pills. The battle started with the drawing of lots. The 8 teams would fight 4 battles in pairs. The team leaders of each team would make the draw. Needless to say, Feng Wu herself was the team leader. Jun Linyun couldn't help but glance at Feng Wu when she walked in, for Feng Wu was already 15 years old and had grown up. No one would be able to resist her beauty when she walked in. Princess Yen Qian snorted. Your Royal Highness, it's time to draw. That's right. The fourth prince cleared his throat to cover up his embarrassment. As a prince, he had seen his fair share of women, but Feng Wu was the first girl that had impressed him with her beauty. However, the most important thing now was to win the battle and get the pill. As for Feng Wu, as a prince, he could get anything he wanted. Feng Wu not only amazed the fourth prince but the others as well. However, they were all focused on the upcoming battle and forgot about everything else. Feng Wu was as lucky as ever. She had picked the Murong family. Murong Linhai was dumbfounded and stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu cleared her throat. I didn't mean to. I just can't control my luck. Taking a deep breath, Murong Linhai fought back his anger. However, on second thought, he realized that anyone below the first place would be useless in this competition, and only the top student could get the reward. Since the Murong family couldn't get the first place anyway, he might as well give up and watch the competition from the side. At that thought, Murong Linhai nodded. Don't worry about it. Let's fight. The results soon came out. Feng Wu's team versus the Murong family. The Mountain Sea Academy versus the Dian Empire. The Lord Yan's residence versus the Primordial Pagoda. The Formless Sword Sect would fight Red Feather Room. Chapter 4166. Let's Fight. 1. Feng Wu's team was in the first round. When Feng Wu and her team went up the stage, many people began to whisper among themselves. And there were quite a few of them. Apart from the 4 forces and 6 major sects, there were also some itinerant cultivators. Therefore, there were at least hundreds of people in the audience. But very few people knew Feng Wu. Only the members of the Mountain Sea Academy and the Murong family, who had been defeated by Feng Wu's capability and luck, knew who she was. Only a handful of them had heard of Feng Wu's name, but most of them hadn't. Hence, when Feng Wu went up the stage, many people began to whisper among themselves. Who are they? Why are they on the stage? I don't think they're from any of the 4 forces or 6 sections. Otherwise, why haven't I seen them before? These people are so elegant. One look and you can tell that they're from a prestigious family. Don't talk about them recklessly, or they'll punish you later. Is there a new sect? Have we missed something? While they were discussing among themselves, Liang Jin of the Mountain Sea Academy stepped out to introduce Feng Wu's team. What? From the outer world. These people all look nice. I thought they were from some decent sect. I didn't know they were from the other side of the continent. Is that true? That's not right. If they're from another land, why are they qualified to participate? If they're qualified, why aren't we? They became displeased. Liang Jin frowned. He couldn't control the crowd anymore. Just then, Feng Wu frowned and said coldly, Why? Because we can win. That intimidating voice silenced all the discussion. For some unknown reason, they felt revered when they saw the girl in red. But many people still wouldn't accept it and asked Feng Wu why she dared to say that. Feng Wu couldn't be bothered to answer their questions. Yu Minji didn't like the sound of that at all. Crossing his arms, he smirked after Feng Wu. Not only will we defeat the Murong family, but we'll also win until the end. In the end? The others all smirked. Feng Wu's team is so ridiculous. They're full of bullshit. They can't even the Murong family, let alone the end. Do they think they can defeat the 4th prince's team? Feng Wu rolled her eyes at Yu Minji. Yu Minji shrugged. They've underestimated you. I won't allow it. Feng Wu was speechless. Just then, the 4th prince slowly walked out, stopped in front of Feng Wu and smiled. Did you just say that your team can defeat us? Yu Minji darted a provoking look at the 4th prince. What? You don't believe me? The 4th prince smiled. I see that you're very confident. Feng Sun crossed his arms as well and said proudly, If we can't even be confident, we'll have wasted these 3 months of cultivation. Those 3 months were the most painful time for Feng Sun. Chapter 4167. Let's begin, 2, you. Ted by BX and Zerdo. Simikram, how interesting. The 4th prince clapped his hands. Since you people are so arrogant, why don't you make a bet with me? Feng Sun couldn't make the decision on his own. Feng Wu had to make the call. What? Are you going to back off now that we're making a bet? The person behind the 4th prince taunted, and the others all laughed. Feng Wu walked up to Feng Sun and stared at the 4th prince. Fine, I'll take the bet. I'm not afraid of you. The 4th prince smiled at Feng Wu. Fine. Let's make it bigger. Feng Wu said, Go ahead. The 4th prince said, If you lose, you'll become my maid. How about that? Before Feng Wu could say anything, Yu Minji and Feng Sun grew anxious and wanted to hit the 4th prince. Feng Wu stopped them. I know I'm going to win, But I promised someone that I wouldn't use myself as a stake. I can't do that. Name a new price. Jun Linyun glanced at Feng Wu. Are you going to say no to such a great offer? Feng Wu couldn't believe her ears. What kind of offer was that? Himpthan. The fourth prince pointed at Yuminji. If your team loses, send him to the fourth prince's residence. Yuminji was furious. Feng Sun chuckled before Yuminji could finish. Deal. Yuminji glared at Feng Sun. Feng Sun patted Yuminji on the shoulder. Yuminji, don't worry. Boss Xiao Wu will keep an eye on you. We won't send you away. Don't worry. Yuminji turned his head in frustration. Although he knew that Feng Wu was bound to win, he still felt conflicted. Feng Wu chuckled and said to Yuminji, Feng Sun is right. I'm not going to lose. Trust me. What more could Yuminji say? What if you lose? Feng Wu stared at the fourth prince and decided that she would make him pay. The fourth prince gave it some thought and said, Pick whatever you want from my residence. Feng Wu asked, Are you sure? The fourth prince said, Of course. Feng Wu nodded. Everyone here heard you, and a lot of people are watching outside. You won't go back on your word, will you? The fourth prince said, Do you think you'll go back on my word? Let's sign an agreement. Feng Wu nodded. That's what I was waiting for. They soon signed the agreement, and someone said, if Feng Wu's team can't pass the first round, she won't get a chance to fight the fourth prince. The fourth prince stared at Feng Wu. You won't lose to Murong's team, will you? No, you're definitely going to lose. Feng Wu threw a dirty look at the fourth prince. I'm not going to lose. Go get your money ready. The fourth prince was speechless. As a matter of fact, he had never been treated like this before. However, Feng Wu seemed to intimidate him somehow, as if it was only natural that he should listen to her. How strange. Soon, the two teams were the only ones left on the stage. Feng Wu arranged the order of the players. Duan Chaoge was the first to go on the stage, followed by Feng Sun, Xian Yi, Yuminji, and herself. After that, Feng Wu turned to Murong Linhai. Let's go. To Feng Wu's surprise. Chapter 4168, Let's Fight 3, U. Ted by BX and Zerdu. Xiaomicronim. To Feng Wu's surprise, Murong Linhai suddenly waved at Feng Wu. We give up. What? Feng Wu wasn't the only one surprised. The crowd and the other teams were all staring at Murong Linhai in astonishment. Give up? How could Murong Linhai abstain from such an important competition? What a son had the Murong family raised. Yan Qian glared at Murong Linhai. Don't tell me you've given up because you've been conquered by her beauty and want to do her a favor. Help her. Murong Linhai thought to himself. I wish I could, but I need to be capable enough to do that. Of course, Murong Linhai didn't say that aloud. Instead of answering the question, he cupped his fists at Feng Wu and said indifferently, We Imo were no match for Miss Feng Wu in this round. I wish you all the best. Feng Wu glanced at Murong Linhai and nodded. The others didn't know what to say. Feng Wu was so arrogant. Feng Wu glanced at Liang Jin when she heard no reply. Liang Jin was the host of this battle. Liang Jin smiled bitterly in his head, but he still said, Feng Wu has won this round. The next round will be the battle between the Yen Prince's residence and the Primordial Pagoda. Feng Wu and the others left the arena. I didn't know that Murong Linhai would forfeit. Feng Sun gloated. Crossing his arms, Yuminji said grumpily, I was looking forward to fighting him. You don't know how he looks at Xiao Wu. What are you two talking about? Enjoy the game. Feng Wu had to cut them off. Yan Qian led her team, and the Primordial Pagoda was led by Chanshin, a monk. Each side would send one member at first, and the winners would continue to fight on the stage, while the losing team would send a second member. The battle went on. They were evenly matched, and soon, both sides had the last player. Yan Qian was the last in her team. On the Primordial Pagoda's side, Chanshin was the last to show up. Yan Qian was definitely more capable than Princess Yan Ling, but she wasn't as good as Prince Yan Yu. Come to think of it, she was about the same level as Feng Sun. Feng Wu looked over her shoulder at Feng Sun, who nodded. I'm sure I can defeat her. Rubbing her chin, Feng Wu was perplexed. People of the Dian Empire were supposed to be so talented and resourceful that they could make breakthroughs much faster than outsiders. However, after Feng Sun's training, he had reached Princess Yan Qian's level. Feng Wu wasn't sure how capable the people of the Dian Empire were, so she asked Ji Xingqing, "What level is Princess Yan Qian?" Ji Xingqing said seriously, "Princess Yan Qian is the second best student of the younger generation in the Yan Manor, second only to Prince Yan Yu. That's already very impressive." Feng Wu asked, "Are you serious?" Ji Xingqing nodded. "Of course." Moreover, their family clan has invested a lot of resources in her. Therefore, among the younger generation, Yan Qian is the most talented girl. She's amazing. Feng Wu had a rough idea. Meanwhile, the battle was coming to an end. With her clever moves, Princess Yan Qian finally won the battle against the Primordial Pagoda. Liang Jin announced the next battle, Formless Sword Sect versus Red Feather Room. The Formless Sword Sect was good with swords, and Red Feather Room only had female members. The battle was very fast. Chapter 4169. Let's Fight 4. Soon, the Formless Sword Sect won. Good job. The second senior brother of the Formless Sword Sect cupped his fists at Fairy Ziyun of Red Feather Room. The faces of the women of the Red Feather Room darkened, but they still accepted the result in the end. After a short battle, the four teams who won were Feng Wu, the Dynasty, Yan Family, and the Formless Sword Sect. Liang Jin's Mountain Sea Academy had been defeated, and he would be lying if he said that he wasn't sad. But Ji Xingqing comforted him. "Senior brother, do you think you can defeat the Dynasty team? Do you think you can defeat the fourth prince?" Liang Jin hesitated for a while before shaking his head. Ji Xingqing asked, "Senior brother, are you confident that you can defeat Feng Wu's team?" Liang Jin shook his head. "Of course not." Ji Xingqing said, "That's it then. We can't defeat either Dynasty team or Feng Wu's team, so what's the point of competing? Only the first place will be rewarded this time. The second place is useless." Liang Jin nodded. "You're right. What we need to do now is to learn something from their battles. The Dragon's Gate banquet in the Imperial capital will be our real chance." Ji Xingqing nodded. "The Mountain Sea Academy has that card up our sleeves. I'm sure senior brother Jinan won't disappoint us." Liang Jin asked the four captains to make the draw. The fourth prince, Feng Wu Yi Erjian, and Yan Qian from the Yan Manor all rolled the dice. The fourth prince picked Yan Qian. Feng Wu got the Formless Sword Sect. It was obvious that the fourth prince was very calm, and Yan Qian looked embarrassed. The result was the same. The fourth prince easily defeated Yan Qian's team. "Thank you." The fourth prince cupped his fists and beamed at Yan Qian. Although she had lost, Yan Qian didn't look very angry. She cupped her fists and smiled bitterly. "Your Royal Highness, I'm afraid that you're going to take all the pills. Would you like to sell one to me?" The fourth prince waved his hand. "Well, it's not completely out of the question. I'll depend on what price Sister Yan Qian is willing to pay." They began to talk about the rewards. Feng Wu raised her eyebrows a little. Meanwhile, Yu Minji cupped his fists and said to them with a half-smile, "Do you really think that the pill is yours? Are you going to share the spoils now? Aren't you afraid of losing?" The fourth prince's face darkened. Yan Qian threw a dirty look at Yu Minji. "Hey, watch your language." Many people were talking about Yu Minji as well, for they believed that the fourth prince's team was bound to win. How could they not? That was impossible. Yu Minji gave her a half-smile. "What do you mean by hey? Am I wrong? Tell me, what did I say wrong?" Yan Qian stared at Yu Minji coldly. Instead of answering his question, she snorted. "You should count yourself lucky that you didn't have the chance to fight me. Otherwise," before Yu Minji could say anything, Feng Sun smirked. "You're the lucky one. Otherwise, you wouldn't be standing here talking to us." Princess Yan Qian was suffocated. Chapter 4170. Let's Fight 5. Princess Yan Qian felt suffocated. She couldn't for the life of her figure out how a commoner from the wilderness could challenge her. She then turned to the Formless Sword Sect. "Brother Yi, please teach these people a lesson for me." The Formless Sword sect had always been close to Prince Yan's residence, and Yi Erjian knew Princess Yan Qian well. The two families had even considered getting married. Therefore, Yi Erjian nodded. Of course. And they weren't the only ones watching. Normally, all 4 forces and 6 sects could watch it, but because it was a battle between youngsters, the elders might not have time to watch it. They didn't have time to watch the first 17 trials on Dynasty Road. As for the final battle, they had anticipated that the 4th prince would win, so they didn't want to watch it either. Therefore, only a handful of families were watching the battle. Prince Yan was watching. So was the Luo family. The head of the Mountain Sea Academy was also watching, and next to him was Qiu Zhenan, the genius of the college. On one side of the arena was the Formless Sword sect, and Feng Wu's team was on the other. Yu Minji glanced at Feng Wu. You don't have to fight this battle. You're the last to go. Feng Wu said, well. For once, Feng Sun had the same opinion as Yu Minji. He nodded at Feng Wu and said, that's right. This is a rare opportunity. Don't try to take it away from us. Just wait behind us. You'll never get to fight. We'll make it very clear for you. Before Feng Wu could say anything, the members of the Formless Sword sect flared up. Yu Minji and Feng Sun didn't try to keep their voices down when they said those words. Yi Erjian smirked. How arrogant of you. Since you're so arrogant, we'll show you what we've got. The bosses watching the battle outside didn't like Feng Wu's team either. Which team is this? Lord Yen frowned at Feng Wu's team. Standing next to him, Yen Yu recognized Feng Wu right away, and his face darkened. Yen Yu had told him about what happened in the Junwo Empire, so he said, Father, the girl in the red dress is Feng Wu, and the other 4 are her friends. Feng Wu. Lord Yen found the name familiar as if he had heard it somewhere before. Yen Yu reminded him, the Junwu Kingdom. Is she the girl that Huyen Yanba is protecting? Huyen Yanba was Mu Jiazi's pupil, and he was one of the most capable cultivators on this continent. That was why Lord Yen gave Feng Wu a second look. Crossing his hands behind his back, the Lord said indifferently, but the girl isn't all that capable. Yen Yu opened his mouth but didn't say anything. Lord Yen was only watching the last round, but Prince Yen Yu had been watching Feng Wu since she entered Dynasty Road. Yen Yu had spent a lot of spiritual crystals in the past few months to see what Feng Wu had gone through on her way to the imperial capital. He had almost used up his own vault. Just then, the two teams started fighting. Feng Wu's team started with Duan Chaoga. Chapter 4171, Let's Fight, 6U. Ted by BX and Zerdo. Tomikronim Chaoga had indeed made some great progress, but she was still a little weaker than the other geniuses. Hence, she didn't last long enough to pass the first round. Xiao Wu. Chaoga looked at Feng Wu gingerly, feeling utterly guilty. That was expected, and Feng Wu didn't think much of it. She only encouraged Chaoga. You're doing well enough. Just think about it. 3 months ago, you couldn't even withstand a single strike from him, could you? Hearing that, Duan Chaoga tilted her head, gave it some thought, and nodded. That's right. I'm making progress already, but I need to work harder. After that, Feng Wu didn't need to remind her. She sat down cross-legged in the noisy place and started cultivating right away. However, many people sneered at Duan Chaoga's defeat and said that Feng Wu's team wasn't good enough. Their tone was full of sarcasm. Members of the 4th Prince's team all snorted. The members of the Formless Sword sect didn't think much of Feng Sun and the others either. However, it was like what Feng Sun and Yu Minji said. Feng Wu wouldn't be needed in this battle. If Feng Wu hadn't told them to keep some cards up their sleeves at first, Yu Minji wouldn't have been given the chance. Thump. In the end, Yu Minji kicked Yi Erjian, the leader of the team, off the stage. Resting his hands on his waist, he looked around and asked, "Who else is there? Bring it on." Feng Wu smacked her forehead. Why was he so silly? Meanwhile, the members of the Formless Sword sect were furious with Yu Minji. Liang Jin announced, Team Feng Wu has won the battle. The Dynasty team and Feng Wu's team will fight the last battle, and the winner will get the pill. The audience no longer looked down on Feng Wu's team as before. Because Feng Wu's team had indeed made it this far with their own capability. No matter how loudly the formless sword sect shouted, they still lost. The eyes of the onlookers lit up as well. Well, that's interesting. Lord Yan smiled. Feng Wu's team is quite something. Yen Ye's face darkened, and there was an indescribable look in his eyes. Back in the Junwo Empire a few months ago, both Yu Minji and Feng Sun were only spiritual overlords. They hadn't even reached the spiritual saint stage yet. However, in the past few months, because of their talent and the cultivation resources Feng Wu found, right now, they were almost as capable as Yen Yu was. Damn it. At that thought, he clenched his fists. He had to kill them all as soon as possible. Otherwise, they would become a burden to him in the future. In a few more months, he might not even be their match. Meanwhile, in the Luo family, Luo Zilin said to his brother, "Brother, look. That's our little Feng Wu." Luo Zihan, the eldest brother of the Luo family and the first in line to inherit the family, was looking at Feng Wu with a gentle look in his eyes. "She's been through a lot," Luo Zihan said gently, sounding sympathetic for Feng Wu. Luo Zilin nodded. "That's right. She's been through a lot out there, but I didn't know she could be so capable. She has taken most of the treasures. If I had known." Chapter 4172, Let's Fight, 7, U. Ted by BX and Zervil. Semichronim Luo Zilin said, "If I had known, I wouldn't have gone to Dynasty Road with Yen Yu back then. I would have followed Xiao Wu and become her patron. That would have been wonderful." Luo Zihan said grumpily, "Didn't you see how dangerous her journey was?" When Luo Zilin came back, he took Luo Zihan with him to watch Feng Wu's performance on Dynasty Road. At first, the two brothers thought that Feng Wu would be lucky if she could get out alive, but the girl's reaction shocked them. She had narrowly escaped death several times, but she was so lucky and had received so many cultivation resources. Is it the final battle? Is it? The Luo brothers rushed in. Luo Zilin was the fourth son of the Luo family, and his other two older brothers were also here to watch the final battle. If their father hadn't been busy with some important business, he would be here as well. The four brothers of the Luo family had been watching Feng Wu for months. Although they hadn't met her yet, they were already very familiar with her and liked her from the bottom of their hearts. The head of the Mountain Sea Academy was very calm because his team wasn't fighting his battle. Liang Jin isn't up to the task after all. He looked over his shoulder at Qiu Zhenan. "In the end, you're still going to be the head of the college." Qiu Zhenan nodded. "We still have a few senior brothers and sisters." "Master, please don't worry." His senior brothers and sisters. The principal smiled bitterly and didn't say anything else. Meanwhile, the final battle finally started. At first, only Lord Yan's residence, the Mountain Sea Academy, and the Luo family were watching, but now, the heads of the other sects were watching as well. Dynasty Road only opened once every 3 years, and geniuses would be born among these people. Would the fourth prince become famous this time? If he could defeat all his opponents in one go, he would probably be as important to His Majesty as the Crown Prince. After all, the Crown Prince used to be first as well. The fourth prince stared at Feng Wu. To Feng Wu, the battle might only be a competition for the pill, but to the fourth prince, it could decide if he could become one of the candidates for the throne. Chaoga was the first to fight. She had just made a breakthrough and become a spiritual saint, which amazed many people. Everyone looked at Duan Chaoga in amazement. After the battle, Duan Chaoga was covered in blood. While she flew off the stage, she also took a member of the dynasty team with her. The first round was a draw, and each side lost a player. Wait! Master Qilian, the head of the Red Feather Room, looked pleasantly surprised. Her quality, talent, and heartless cultivation technique are perfect for our sect. Master Qilian's disciples looked at one another in bewilderment. The eldest disciple couldn't help but say, "Master, junior sister Ziyun is a little more talented than her, isn't she?" Master Qilian didn't answer the question, for even she couldn't tell who was more talented, Ziyun or Miss Chaoga. Chapter 4173, Competition 1. Let's go. Master Qilian headed for the door. The other disciples looked at one another in bewilderment. Were they in a hurry to wait at the gate of Dynasty Road? Meanwhile, the second round started. It was Feng Sun's turn, while Zhu Mingming was the one sent by the dynasty team. The Zhu family was where the fourth prince's mother came from. Cousin. The fourth prince stared at Zhu Mingming, hinting that he had to kick Feng Sun out. A relaxed smile appeared on Zhu Mingming's face. He said indifferently, "It's not a big deal. Just wait and see." In the end, Feng Sun kicked Zhu Mingming off the stage, but Feng Sun remained on the stage, although he looked badly injured as well. It just so happened that at that critical moment, Feng Sun had the impulse to make a breakthrough. Feng Wu took Feng Sun off the stage right away. "Just sit there and make your breakthrough. Don't worry about the battle." The others were speechless when they saw this. Not only had Duan Chaoga made a breakthrough, but Feng Sun was also going to make a breakthrough. What was wrong with Feng Wu's team? Zhu Mingming was dumbfounded as well. He looked from himself to Feng Sun and couldn't believe his eyes. The two of them were evenly matched just then, but Feng Sun was making a breakthrough now, and when that happened, Feng Sun would be so much better than him. At that thought, Zhu Mingming looked at the fourth prince involuntarily. Meanwhile, the fourth prince didn't look too happy. He had a solemn look on his face, and his eyes darkened a little. The crown prince was watching the battle. Seeing this, he smiled and told the eunuch next to him, "Go fetch His Majesty. This is getting more and more interesting." Seeing this, the Luo brothers couldn't help but laugh. Interesting. Maybe Xiao Wu really will win this battle. The head of the Mountain Sea Academy's eyes lit up, and Qiu Zhenan couldn't hide his excitement. "Master, this Feng Sun is..." The head of the Mountain Sea Academy nodded. "You're right. His constitution is especially suitable for that cultivation technique. Let's go." The head of the Mountain Sea Academy, who had been disinterested, was also heading for the destination of Dynasty Road. Before long, Lord Yen, the Mountain Sea Academy, the Luo family, and the Red Feather Room all gathered at the end of Dynasty Road. The heads of the clans exchanged looks and each had a plan. Because Feng Wu's team came from outside the empire, they had no masters in the Dian Empire. If they didn't recruit such a genius, when would they? Meanwhile, the battle was still going on. Xian Yi was the third player, and Qin Yi, the fourth prince's most valued study companion, was going up against him. If you lose, do as you see fit. Before Qin Jing went on the stage, the fourth prince was by his side and was threatening him in a low voice. Chen Yi cupped his fists at Prince. "Your Royal Highness, don't worry. I'm going to win." Although Qin Yiran was the fourth prince's study companion, the Chen family wasn't just any family. They were one of the most influential families in the Dian Empire, and Qin Jing was the most promising member of the younger generation. He enjoyed the best cultivation resources of the clan. Bring it on. The two of them were evenly matched. It was the longest battle and the most thrilling one. Xian Yi was covered with cuts and bruises, and Qin Yi wasn't any better. "What's his name?" Lord Yen asked Yen Yu. Chapter 4174, Competition 2. It was obvious that Lord Yen was interested in Xian Yi. Yen Yu frowned a little but still said, "Xian Yi. His name is Xian Yi." Lord Yen frowned a little. "You didn't mention him when you came back from the Junwo Empire." Yen Yu said, "He wasn't a spiritual saint when we were in the Junwo Empire, so I didn't mention him." Lord Yen nodded. "He's qualified now. Do you know what to do?" Yen Yu said, "Yes." "Lord Yen, what's that supposed to mean? Are you going to take him away from the Formless Sword sect?" "Ha." Someone laughed and came toward Prince Yen. Lord Yen recognized the voice right away. "Yi Buki, what are you doing here?" Yi Buki, the head of the Formless Sword sect, was known as the fierce sword of the world. He was known for his unruly behavior and mysterious whereabouts. Lord Yen didn't expect to meet him here today. Yi Buki crossed his arms and looked at the battlefield. He then said to Lord Yen, "This Xian Yi is impressive. Hell's suit the Formless Sword sect." Prince Yen asked, "Is the Formless Sword sect trying to compete for him?" With Yi Buki laughed. "So, Lord Yen, are you trying to take him away from me?" Lord Yen snorted. Yi Buki said, "If there's a genius in the outer region, all 4 forces and 6 sects will have a chance to recruit them. It's not like they belong to you. If you really want them, I'd advise you to show some sincerity. There's no reason for him to follow you just because you want him. Lord Yen smirked. I'm recruiting him. Of course, he's coming. What a joke. Yi Buki guffawed. Fine. Feel free to do whatever you want. We'll see if he'll go to Lord Yan's residence or the Formless Sword sect. Xian Yi had no idea that two families were already competing over him before the battle was over. Yen Yu glanced at Lord Yen but didn't say anything. He didn't dare to admit what he had done to offend Feng Wu and her people in the Junwo Empire, and it would be very difficult to recruit them now. By then, the battle had finally ended. After 36 strikes, Xian Yi finally pushed Jin Yi off the stage. Xian Yi of Feng Wu's team has won this battle, Liang Jin announced. The crowd watched Feng Wu fight with different looks in their eyes. Many people had been talking about how lucky the team was to make it to the finals, but no one said that anymore. If they had relied on their luck, did it mean that the Fourth Prince's team had lost the battles on purpose? The Fourth Prince's team only has 2 players left, while Feng Wu's team has 3. It's going to be a little confusing. Not necessarily. The Fourth Prince hasn't joined the battle yet. Once he does, Xian Yi and Yuminji won't be his match. But don't they still have Feng Wu? I bet Feng Wu isn't that capable. That can't be. She's their last card up their sleeves. She could be a trump card or a cripple. I think it's very likely that Feng Wu is useless because she hasn't made a move yet. I think she's scared. Was that it? Many people actually believed it. Chapter 4175. Competition 3, U. Ted by BX and Zerdo. Xiaomicron M. Feng Wu's team still had 3 people left, and they were Feng Wu, Yuminji, and Xian Yi. However, there were only 2 people left on the Fourth Prince's side. The Fourth Prince and Yang Shu, the genius teenager. The Fourth Prince stared at Yang Shu. You've been doing a great job so far, and I've given you the resources you need this time. Yang Shu, don't disappoint me. Yang Shu nodded solemnly. The Fourth Prince took a deep breath and warned him again. My brother has to be watching this battle. If I lose, many people on my side will have other plans. This battle is very important to our future. Yang Shu nodded again. As expected, after Yang Shu entered the arena, Xian Yi was severely injured and lost after only half of the battle. The Fourth Prince smiled. Yang Shu didn't disappoint him. However, Yuminji soon showed up, and Yang Shu was defeated. The Fourth Prince was speechless. Meanwhile, everyone in and out of the arena was staring at Yuminji in astonishment. Many people were even asking who he was. So did the crowd outside. Yi Buki of the Formless Sword sect nodded. He's a nice teenager. In terms of cultivation talent, he's probably slightly better than Xian Yi. He added, but Xian Yi is better at the sword. Yuminji is a good choice for the Murong family. He'll suit the Luo family as well. I also find him very suitable. The heads of the clan treated each other with great respect, but this was a rare opportunity for them to compete for genius, and none of them would give in. After all, almost all the geniuses who were on the dynasty road before had come from the 4 forces and 6 major sections. Who could possibly recruit them? They were the treasures of their families and clans, and no one would be able to recruit them. But things were different now. It just so happened that these kids were all from other regions and had no sect or foundation in the Dayan Empire. Moreover, they were all geniuses with great talents. Every sect would want them. Having them would be such a great deal. Hence, none of the masters gave in. Even the head of the Luo family had to fly over here to wait, fearing that someone would take Feng Wu away. While the heads had high hopes for the young genius they wanted to win over, the battle was still going on inside. Right now, Yuminji and the Fourth Prince were fighting. Feng Wu's team still had Feng Wu left, but the Fourth Prince was on his own. If the Fourth Prince lost, the battle would be over. If the Fourth Prince won, the final battle would be between Feng Wu and him. Feng Wu saw that Yuminji, who had always been unperturbed, had finally become serious. Every move he made was very precise and methodical. I didn't expect Yuminji to make such rapid progress. Seeing that the battle was still going on, Feng Wu couldn't help but sigh at Feng Sun. Before I came to Dynasty Road, Yuminji was nowhere near as capable as the fourth prince. But now, it's hard to tell who's going to win. It won't be long before he exceeds the fourth prince. Feng Wu didn't try to keep her voice down, so everyone close to her heard it, including the fourth prince. He gave Feng Wu a dirty look. Feng Wu shrugged. Why are you staring at me? You're just not that good. Chapter 4176, Competition for You. TED by BX and Zervil. Sumikron, I'm not weaker than him. Just wait and see. The fourth prince threw a dirty look at Feng Wu before turning back to Yuminji. Unfortunately, Yuminji wasn't easy to handle. If the fourth prince had ignored Feng Wu and focused on fighting Yuminji, he might have had a chance to win. However, he couldn't stand it and wanted to say something harsh to Feng Wu. One couldn't afford to be distracted in a battle between two capable cultivators. Yuminji wouldn't give him that kind of a chance. Yuminji kicked the fourth prince's sword out of the arena. Ah! The audience cried out in surprise. The fourth prince was dazed for a brief moment before he was kicked away by Yuminji. He made an arch in the air before falling to the ground with a thump. Rubbing the tip of his nose with his right thumb, Yuminji gloated at the fourth prince, who had fallen to the ground, and asked loudly, "Anyone else?" The fourth prince was speechless. The audience was astonished. Everyone stared at Yuminji as if he was a monster. That was incredible. Was he really from another continent? Ji Xingqing took his senior brother's hand and said, "Senior brother, please announce the result." Liang Jin was equally shocked and only realized what had happened when Ji Xingqing reminded him. He stood on the stage and announced loudly, "Yuminji is the winner." Before the fourth prince could react, Liang Jin heaved a sigh of relief and announced loudly, "Feng Wu's team won this battle." Gosh, everyone fell silent for a moment before there was a round of applause. However, no one dared to make another sound after the fourth prince cast a stern look at them. However, everyone was looking around. Yi Erjian of the Formless Sword Sect, Fairy Ziyun of the Red Feather Room, and many others gave the fourth prince indescribable looks, but the look they gave Yuminji was even more so. Especially Fairy Ziyun, whose eyes twinkled when she looked at Yuminji. Feng Wu was a little disappointed, for she didn't even have a chance to fight in the competition. However, Feng Wu wasn't all that into fighting herself, so she didn't mind if she didn't have a chance. She went up to the stage and asked Ji Xingqing, "Shall we take the prizes now?" She wasn't trying to urge him, but the fourth prince's glare frightened everyone. Liang Jin even forgot to announce the prize. Hearing Feng Wu's reminder, Liang Jin smiled bitterly. "That's right. It's time for the reward." His Royal Highness. The fourth prince had the pills. Because the fourth prince had never expected to lose, he didn't hand them over. Immediately, all eyes were on the fourth prince. The fourth prince's face was livid. Meanwhile, Zhu Mingming and the others were already trying to help the fourth prince to his feet. However, the fourth prince threw off his hand and turned to leave. Just then, Feng Wu and Liang Jin changed the subject to the fourth prince, and all eyes were on him. The fourth prince felt a chill run down his spine. Feng Wu asked hesitantly, "Your Royal Highness, where are you going? Don't you have the pills? Are you going to take what's not yours?" The fourth prince was astonished, turned around and smirked at Feng Wu. "So what if it's true? You're just a commoner." Everyone was intimidated by the fourth prince's ruthless tone and didn't dare to speak. Chapter 4177, Competition 5. Feng Wu wasn't intimidated at all. Crossing her arms, she smiled at the fourth prince. "Well, I see that you've lost. Are you trying to intimidate me like a prince now?" Feng Wu turned to Liang Jin. "Didn't you say that all the major clans were watching this battle? So they'll keep his word." The fourth prince was speechless. Could Feng Wu be any more annoying? Prince as someone who wouldn't on any other day, the fourth prince would have taken the pills, but with all the big shots watching, he couldn't be so willful. It just so happened that the fourth prince was used to enjoying privileges, so he hated Feng Wu to the bone. "There you go." The fourth prince threw a bottle of pills at Feng Wu. If Feng Wu wasn't capable enough, her head would be smashed to pieces by the bottle. Watch out! Ji Xingqing and Liang Jin cried out, but they were too far away from Feng Wu to stop the bottle. Yu Minji caught the bottle with one hand and raised an eyebrow at the fourth prince. I've defeated you. Who are you trying to scare? The fourth prince was so angry that he didn't know what to say. There you go. Yu Minji handed the bottle to Feng Wu. Some people looked at Feng Wu suspiciously. Feng Wu hadn't made a move this whole time. What was her level? Or was she a hidden cripple as everyone had speculated? Just then they heard a voice. Your Royal Highness is here, Lord Yen is here, Master Luo is here, the head of Red Feather Room is here, the head of the Formless Sword Sect is here, Master Murong is here, the head of the Mountain Sea Academy is here. Apart from the sacred Mu Cliff and the Primordial Pagoda, all the heads of the other 7 forces were here. The Dayan Empire was represented by the eldest prince, who was the most popular among the princes. Therefore, he represented the empire more than the fourth prince did. Would you like to come to the Red Feather Room? Master Qilian quickly walked up to Chaoga and smiled at her. Duan Chaoga hesitated. She turned around and looked at Feng Wu in bewilderment. Before Master Qilian could say anything, her eldest pupil said, We're from the Red Feather Room, which is where women of Dayan cultivate. Your Flower Valley's cultivation technique that you're using comes from our sect. Duan Chaoga had learned the cultivation technique from Hua Wuqing, but the manual was incomplete, and she had been stuck there. Therefore, when Master Qilian mentioned the cultivation technique, Duan Chaoga was tempted, but she went up to Feng Wu and shook her head at Master Qilian. She wasn't going to leave Feng Wu. Seeing Luo Zilin winking at her, Feng Wu waved at him. Luo Zilin whispered in Feng Wu's ear, Master Qilian has similar cultivation techniques to Chaoga. They're of the same heritage. Haven't you been trying to improve her cultivation? Let her go to the Red Feather Room. I promise you that she'll make great progress. Feng Wu hesitated. But the Red Feather Room is, Luo Zilin said, the Red Feather Room is an aloof place and has never been involved in any internal strife. It's a great cultivation sect. Look at Master Qilian. She looks like she has found a treasure. I'm sure she'll put a lot of effort into Chaoga. I think she's going to become the next head of the sect. Chapter 4178, Competition 6. You found the fragment of the cultivation technique on Dynasty Road, didn't you? There's a complete one in the Red Feather Room. Master Qilian knew how much Feng Wu's words would affect Chaoga, so she spoke to Feng Wu in a serious tone. Feng Wu frowned. What if the Red Feather Room forces Chaoga to do things she doesn't want to do in the future? Master Qilian cut to the chase. If she doesn't want to do something, no one will force her. If that really happens, she can leave the Red Feather Room at any time. Moreover, after she comes to the Red Feather Room, she'll be my final disciple and the revered junior sister of the entire sect. If anyone dares to pick on her, I'll be the first to intervene. Everyone gave Feng Wu and Master Qilian strange looks. They were surprised that Feng Wu didn't want Duan Chaoga to join the Red Feather Room. Did she know what a great opportunity that was? They were even more surprised when they saw that Master Qilian would agree to anything in order to get Duan Chaoga. That was beyond their expectations. Is Duan Chaoga that talented? Did Master Qilian have to do this? Someone murmured in Fairy Ziyin's ear. Fairy Ziyin's face darkened. Someone next to her said, Duan Chaoga is indeed very talented and capable. What's more, she has risen to her current level in another world, which means that she still has more potential to explore. Moreover, her cultivation technique comes from the Red Feather Room. If I were Master Qilian, I wouldn't have given up on her either. It's just that Master Qilian has always been so proud. The fact that she can bring herself to do such a thing shows how important Duan Chaoga is to the sect. Fairy Ziyin's face darkened. In the end, Chaoga agreed to go to the Red Feather Room, but she had made it clear that if the Red Feather Room made her uncomfortable, she could leave at any moment. Feng Wu and the others didn't want to part with you, but they all knew that going to the Red Feather Room would help Chaoga's future. Hence, they said they would visit Chaoga later. To Feng Sun's surprise, it was his turn next. Feng Sun, would you like to join us? I'll welcome you on behalf of the Luo family. Luo Zilin turned around and grinned at Feng Sun. Feng Sun pointed at himself. Me? Are you sure you're inviting me? However, someone cut Luo Zilin off before he could say anything. The Murong family is a nice place too. Murong Linhai stepped out and smiled at Feng Sun. I forfeited the first round voluntarily. For that, you should at least consider the Murong family. Feng Sun mumbled, even if you fought us, do you think you would have won? Murong Linhai didn't know what to say. Just then, the head of the Mountain Sea Academy came out to invite Feng Sun. The Mountain Sea Academy? Feng Sun hesitated and turned to look at Feng Wu. Qiu Zhenan said to Feng Sun in a serious tone, your ultimate yang body and the cultivation technique you're using are of the same lineage as ours. They'll be very beneficial to your cultivation. The head of the Luo family nodded at Feng Wu. For some unknown reason, Feng Wu felt very close to the head of the Luo family as if she had met him before. The Mountain Sea Academy might be a good choice, Feng Wu suggested to Feng Sun. Feng Sun said, but I want to stay with you. Chapter 4179. Your brother, 1. Audited by Bexenville. Simicronum Luo Zilin said grumpily, the Dragon's Gate banquet is in 6 months. It'll be so easy for you to see Feng Wu then. Feng Sun turned to Feng Wu. Are you going to the Mountain Sea Academy, then? Feng Wu. Of course, the Mountain Sea Academy would welcome her, but Feng Wu shook her head. I don't think I'll go, but it seems that it'll really suit you. Feng Wu had wanted to take Feng Sun to the Luo family, but if the Mountain Sea Academy was more suitable for him, she would prefer it. All right, Feng Sun agreed in the end. When it was Xian Yi and Yu Mingye's turn, many other sects tried to invite them. However, in the end, Xian Yi went to the Formless Sword sect, while Yu Mingyi went to the eldest prince's royal family. Feng Wu looked concerned when Yu Mingyi winked at her. Don't worry. I'll come to you as soon as I'm done. However, if you really miss me, why don't you come to the dynasty team with me? Feng Wu punched him. When it was Feng Wu's turn, she went to the Luo family. Exactly how capable is Feng Wu? I've never seen her fight. Is she really that weak? Maybe the Luo family has made the wrong choice. That was what many people thought. However, Ji Xingqing and Liang Jin couldn't help but smile bitterly when they saw that Feng Wu had gone to the Luo family. Feng Wu was one of the most talented cultivators with great potential. If she joined the Luo family would rise even higher. I don't think Feng Wu is good enough, Yi Erjian said with a smirk. Murong Linhai glanced at him but didn't say anything. Feng Wu isn't good enough? Soon you'll see how good she is. After that, the bosses bid farewell with cupped fists and left with the geniuses they had recruited. Duan Chaoga went to the Red Feather Room. Feng Sun went to the Mountain Sea Academy. Xian Yi went to the Formless Sword sect. Yu Mingyi went with the royal family. Feng Wu followed Luo Zilin and the head of the Luo family back home. The Luo family greeted Feng Wu with the highest standards when she arrived. Feng Wu tugged at Luo Zilin. Isn't that a little too grand? Luo Zilin grinned. It's not grand at all. I think it's just right. Feng Wu said, didn't you say that you were going to tell me about my relationship with the Luo family? Can you tell me now? Luo Zilin grinned again. Father and the others are ready to tell you. Come with me. Let's go. When she got to the study, Feng Wu saw that the head of the Luo family was sitting in the middle of the room, and 4 teenagers stood behind him. The first one was a little older and seemed to be married, but the other 3 didn't seem to be. They were all smiling at Feng Wu in a friendly manner. Your mother is my sister, so you have to call me uncle. The head of the Luo family nodded at Feng Wu. He was usually a serious and reserved man, but because of his joy, he was smiling as well. That's right. I'm your 4th brother. I didn't take advantage of you, did I? Luo Zilin had worked very hard to keep the secret. Now that his father had made it clear, he began to yell at Feng Wu. I'm your eldest brother. I'm your 2nd brother. I'm your 3rd brother. The other 3 teenagers nodded at Feng Wu in a friendly manner as well, and they couldn't hide the joy on their faces. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.